What's going on, everybody? My name is Colton, and welcome to my Week 2 NFL picks. Thursday night has already passed us by. I did take the Packers, as you can see here, minus 3.5, as they won 27-18 to start their season 2-0. But before we get into this week's slate, let's take a look back at week number 1. Ended up going 10-6 overall. Got some really unlucky ones, but also some pretty lucky breaks. The Chargers obviously won in Brazil. Browns should have won the game outright. One of the worst picks of the week was the Dolphins. I don't know why I was so negative on them, and then all of a sudden I decided to pick them. That was not my best choice. Raiders and Commanders both covered for us. The Saints, they had a late chance to cover. They came up just short. The Steelers, that was a really bad beat at minus 2.5. They won by 2. Bucks rallied late. Buka was amazing. He got it done. The Jaguars stomped the Panthers. Broncos, it was looking a little dicey at times, but they got past the Titans. The Seahawks were really leading that game much of the way. They ended up falling short. The Packers dominate the Lions, the Rams. The Ravens, this is the big lucky one. They were plus 1.5. They blew that game, lost, but still covered by the half a point, and the Bears kind of blew it on Monday night. So overall, a mixed bag in week 1, 10-6 overall. If we look at my all-time standings, we did get the lock of the week correct with the Jaguars, minus 2.5. All-time record now, 310 and 243, not bad. All-time locks, I know I'm really trying to focus on the locks this year because of how shaky I was a year ago with locks, so we start 1-0. But let's get right into this week's predictions. Week 2, a classic week known for people overreacting to the week 1 results, so try to take advantage of that. Try not to overreact too much, and let's dive right in. We start with the Jaguars and the Bengals. I am on the Jaguars plus 3.5 here. I really liked what I saw from Trevor Lawrence in week 1. It was a very weak opponent in the Carolina Panthers. I expected the Panthers to come out a little better than they did. They had the weird lightning delay. The momentum, was kind of weird situation for both teams. But the Jaguars, the defense looked much improved. Again, we can take that with a bit of a grain of salt due to the offense on the other side of the ball, but Travis Hunter looked pretty dynamic. I think they're going to continue to use him quite a lot. I kind of like a Brenton Strange touchdown in this one. I had it actually last week, and I still see him being a much improved tight end for them. But yeah, I'm not going to fall into the trap of the Bengals. I still don't buy that the Bengals have it figured out in the first couple weeks of the season. We saw them barely escape with a victory of the Browns. Entering that game, Joe Burrow, like I said last week, was 1-9 in week 1 and 2 games. So yeah, I just don't really want to lay 3 and a hook with a team that I just don't trust in the early part of the season. So I will take the points with the Jaguars. I actually expect them to win outright on the road here and start their season 2-0. Next up, we got the Giants and the Cowboys. Kind of an interesting one. The Cowboys are laying 5.5 at home. I am going with Dallas here. The Giants just could not move the ball offensively last week against the Commanders, and the Commanders' defense is not really tremendous by any means. Cowboys' defense isn't anything to write home about either, but I think after a game that they really could have won against Philadelphia in the season opener, I think they come back home here. I don't have a lot to say. I think Dak and CeeDee regroup. They find their rhythm. I expect Pickens to have a bigger day. The Giants' defense is formidable. They will keep the Giants hanging around for at least 2 or 3 quarters of this game, but I think the Cowboys right the ship a bit, calm their fans down, and get a nice win. They win by about 10 points. Then we got the Bears and the Lions. I'm taking the Bears plus 5.5. I think I saw enough from Chicago on Monday Night Football that leads me to believe they will keep this game close. Caleb Williams didn't look fantastic, but they were moving the ball at first. They really should have won that game. J.J. McCarthy struggled for 3 quarters. He had a great fourth quarter. They got the win. And I don't want to overact too much to what I saw from the Lions against the Packers, but it's kind of what I was predicting. I thought this team was going to look disjointed in the early part of the year. I thought they would struggle to replace 2 coordinators, 2 offensive linemen, just key pieces. I've been saying it video after video here with the Lions. So while I do think the Lions escape this game with a victory at home, maybe by like 3 points or like a 24-20, I just think the 5.5 is a little too much. I feel safer taking the Bears here, as crazy as that might sound. Another dog I'm interested in here is the Tennessee Titans plus 5.5 at home. Another game where I think the Rams will probably win outright, but I think the 5.5 is a bit too much. Cam Ward showed a lot of good things. If you just look at the box score, yes, his numbers weren't great, but he was kind of slinging the ball around the field. The receivers were dropping things. That last drive of the game, his team let him down. All his guys let him down on that last drive. They need to be better. I think Cam Ward will show more this week. I think the Titans may find themselves with an early lead here. They're at home. I don't think the Rams are a juggernaut per se. I think this is actually a pretty tough spot for the Rams. I think the Titans could win outright. I would lean the Rams getting a late win similar to the Lions, but I'm going to take the Titans plus 5.5. One prop I like in this game a lot is Eli Aomanor. I'm eventually going to learn how to say his name correctly. I apologize. I think his over 33.5 receiving yards. I mean, Cam Ward was looking for him a lot. The Titans do not have a lot of weapons. Calvin Ridley was dropping a lot of balls. I expect him to go over 33.5 yards. I also kind of like him to get into the end zone. You can find that at a nice price of plus 440 on FanDuel. So I would take a look at both of those numbers. Then we got the Patriots and the Dolphins. Dolphins laying a 1.5 after probably the weakest week 1 performance out of any team in football. The Patriots didn't look too good either on the other side. I mean, they struggled against the Raiders. Drake May didn't look overly impressive. I do like Kayshon Boutte here to go over his 42.5 yards. Drake May clearly likes this guy a lot. He was targeting him left and right, so I think the Patriots offense shows a lot more in this game. The Dolphins defense, not a good unit. I think the Patriots right the ship. I trust Mike Vrabel more than Mike McDaniel. The Dolphins are just such a bad culture team right now. I have to take the Patriots. I'm surprised, honestly, that they're plus 1.5 here. I will take the road dog in Miami. 49ers and Saints. This one, of course, has a bunch of injury news with Brock Purdy being out, George Kittle being out. The Niners are already getting hit with that injury bug that we saw a season ago. I'm going to take the Saints plus 4.5 here. I don't think Spencer Rattler has a victory as a starter still. I don't know if he gets it here. I actually kind of think the Saints might win this game outright. I just don't want to bet on McCorkle Jones over there on the other side, and the 49ers just already seeing these injuries come through. I think this will be a close, low-scoring game. If they can keep the game plan simple enough for Spencer Rattler, I think he can maybe make some magic happen. As crazy as that sounds, I think they will get... It's in New Orleans, which is a huge factor here. Obviously a tough place to play. The 49ers making the long trip over with backups in key positions. So I will take the 4.5. I feel pretty comfortable getting that number. It's down to like 3.5 now or less. I still think the Saints are in a pretty good spot here at home. Bills at the Jets. Josh Allen has struggled at times in New York, but I'm going to take the Bills minus 6.5. Feels like a bit of a square pick, but I think a lot of people are going to be on the Jets with how well they played in week 1, how Justin Fields looked in week 1. They moved the ball up and down the field on a pretty decent to good Steelers defense. Do I think that continues for much of the season? Probably not. I think we see some regression immediately here with the Jets. The Jets defense has to be a lot better, especially against a better opponent in the Bills. It is a divisional game, a home divisional underdog of 6.5. It's tough to go against that, but I'm going to trust the Bills here. They looked very good on Sunday Night Football. They obviously made a great comeback against Baltimore. I don't know. I don't have a strong feeling of this game. It's actually one of my least favorite picks of the week, but I will take the Bills to win by at least a touchdown. We got the Seahawks and the Steelers. Now, the Seahawks did disappoint in week 1. I think the defense played very well. Rick Woolen had a tough game. I know people will point to him as one of the bigger reasons they lost. The offense, they were driving it late in the game. They had a chance to win it. They had the unfortunate fumble there. Darnold didn't look bad. He didn't really excel either. They're doing a weird thing with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. For fantasy purposes, I don't really know who you would start there. I think Charbonnet might be a viable flex option at this point, the way he's getting, if he continues to get utilized like that. I think the Seahawks bounce back here. I think they win in Pittsburgh. Somebody else has to help JSN. JSN accounted for over 80% of the offensive passing yards. They need to find a second guy. I said it could be Cooper Kupp. I said it could be Torrey Horton. I said it could be Elijah Arroyo at some point. It has to be somebody. It can't just all be on JSN. But the defense is still great. Devin Witherspoon being out does really hurt. But Josh Jobe played a fantastic game in week 1. Look for him to have another big day. If the pass rush can get to Aaron Rodgers early and often, I think the Seahawks will find success on the road here. They've also been sneaky good in these 1 o'clock East Coast trips for the past several years. Browns and Ravens, this is a tough one because 12.5 is a lot of points, another divisional game. But I'm going to lay the 12.5 with the Ravens. I think they're going to be furious after that blown lead. There is definitely a world where the Browns make this like a 3-point game in the fourth quarter, and I'm going to regret this. But I will feel better losing with the Ravens here than picking the Browns and the Ravens winning by 30. So I will reluctantly lay the 12.5 with Baltimore. Another one that I don't feel great about this week, but I will take the Ravens. Broncos and Colts. Interesting matchup. I think this is a peak overreaction type of spot here. I think a lot of people saw what the Colts did to Miami and are going to think they are some world beater. I do not see it that way. I think Daniel Jones might be better than we're anticipating, but against a stout Denver defense travels in Indianapolis inside the Dome. I think the Broncos come out a little bit better than they did a week ago against the Titans. Bo Nix has to be smarter with the football. He was pretty sloppy in that week 1 game. I think he rights the ship here. I think the Broncos can win this game by a field goal or more, so I will lay the 2.5. I think the Panthers and the Cardinals. Now, early on in the week, I was really liking this pick with the Panthers plus 6.5, another overreaction spot with a team that looked awful in week 1. But there's a chance the Panthers are just really awful in general, so it is a little scary to get that. It's a key number there. I would like to get like 7.5. But 6.5. I like Chuba Hubbard's props a lot. I love him in fantasy. I think he has a really nice day here. Again, they really feature him. Ted McMillan should get some action down the field. I think he almost had a touchdown in week 1. I expect him to maybe find the end zone here as well. I think the Panthers will put up more points than they did against Jacksonville. I think the Cardinals win this game, but I think the Panthers keep this a lot closer than people think. Only 27% of the picks here on ESPN. Kind of surprised about that. I think 6.5 is enough points to allow me to take the Panthers here. So I will take the Panthers. I expect the Panthers to probably come up short, but I could easily see a 3 to 4 point victory for the Cardinals. Super Bowl rematch time in Kansas City. We get the Eagles and the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 1.5 point underdogs. It's so tough to pass up a Chiefs plus money spot or underdog spot, and seeing that plus in front of their name at home, it's so difficult to go against them, but I just don't think they're in the spot here right now to beat this Philadelphia team. I think the Eagles are really strong. They won that game against the Cowboys despite losing Jalen Carter immediately. I do like Isaiah Pacheco to go over 33.5 rushing yards in this game. I think that is a really low number. He could break one run and he's over that. He has that explosive ability, but I just trust the Eagles right now. There's no way I can pick the Chiefs here. If Xavier Worthy might not play, he obviously got hurt in week 1. Travis Kelce just looks pretty slow. He did get into the end zone. I just don't know where the dynamic playmaking is going to come from. Juju Smith-Schuster, I just feel much better picking a team that has Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, who didn't even do much in week 1, Devontae Smith, just loads of talent offensively and defensively. The Eagles are the better team right now. We'll see where we are late in the season with the Chiefs, but right now, as crazy as it sounds, I think the Chiefs start 0-2, although you don't get rich betting against Patrick Mahomes. All right, Falcons and the Vikings. The Vikings minus 4.5. I think this is way too many points. I think the Falcons looked pretty decent in week 1. I think the Vikings played one really good quarter against a team that was susceptible to blowing a lead. I'm still not sold on this Vikings team. This is one of the easier picks for me this week. I think the Falcons win this game outright. I will take the 4.5 points. I expect Michael Penix Jr. to have a good day here. It is tough going up against a Brian Flores defense, but the Bears put up 24 points. I think the Falcons could do something similar. I think they could win this game like 27-23. And just want to see more of the Vikings. I've been saying that since the preseason. I need to see how this team plays for 4 or 5 weeks before I get a definitive feel about them. I'm still going to take, if you're giving me 4.5 points, I will take it with the Falcons. The first of 2 Monday Night Football games here, the Buccaneers and the Texans. The Texans are laying 2.5 at home. This is probably, as you can see, a bit of an unpopular pick, but I'm going to lay the points with the Texans. You almost expect this to be like a pick'em or the Bucs even maybe favored by a point or two. This is one of those just gut check feeling games for me. I think the Texans did pretty much nothing impressive in week 1, except, their defense played pretty well. They only gave up 14 points. You really don't feel good as a Texans fan, I can imagine, after that game. I think the Bucs, escaped with that late accelerating victory against a division opponent. Now they go on the road to Houston. I think this is a good situational spot for a bounce-back Texans win and covered by more than 2.5. So I could see a field goal type of game, but I also think the Texans could win this game by like 7 to 10 points. So give me the Texans at home to get to 500. And then we wrap up with the Chargers and Raiders. Now, this is a game that when I first saw the line, I was like, I'm taking the Raiders 100%. But I actually don't think this is a great matchup for the Raiders. I think the Chargers are going to be able to move the ball quite well, run the ball quite well on this Raiders defense. This is the only game where I really switched and did a 180 on from the beginning of the week to now. I think the Chargers end up beating the Raiders sort of comfortably. I think Geno will make some plays, let the Raiders hang around for a bit, but it's just not quite enough points. The line feels almost a little weird to me. I think the Chargers play pretty well. I think Herbert goes for close to 300 yards in this game. I know the Chargers, it's always hard to break that because the Chargers want to run the football, but I could see him kind of letting it loose. Do you like Omarion Hampton again? I'm going to be high on him through most of the season, but weird game, tough game. Switched back and forth on it, but I settled on the Chargers minus 3.5. Lock of the week, we don't have to scroll back up too much. I'm going to take the Falcons plus 4.5. Everything I already said, I don't want to lay 4.5 points with the Vikings to begin with. If you're giving me 4.5 with a team that I think is going to win outright, I feel like I have to make that my lock of the week. So as we try to go 2-0 in locks, it will be on the Falcons' shoulders. I will take them plus 4.5. A couple other anytime touchdown scorers that I like this week that I didn't mention. CeeDee Lamb at even money. I think after a tough week 1, I think he really is going to have a big day against the Giants. Kayshon Boutte, like I mentioned, is plus 290. The way Drake May seems to like him, I think he has good value there. And then Marvin Mims, I think is going to break one. I like him at plus 350 to get into the end zone. Sneaky line I also like is Colston Loveland over 2.5 catches. It's at plus money, and I think he's going to quickly become more of a factor in this offense, and just 3 catches seems like a pretty good deal. And I like Travis Hunter over 44.5 yards. Trevor Lawrence seemed to feature him already over Brian Thomas Jr. I think 44.5 is pretty low against a defense that is pretty bad in the Bengals. So give me Travis Hunter over 44.5 yards. I think that's actually one of the best plays of the week. No other big fantasy notes. I would say I would be weary of Jaylen Warren. I kind of liked him a lot last week. He didn't do a whole lot. I'm not sure how the Steelers' rushing attack is going to look. The Seahawks are pretty good at stopping the run as well. I think they'll be much improved. So I'm not a huge fan of Jaylen Warren at the flex this week. I'm pretty high on. I'm going to recommend Ted McMillan again. Again, if you drafted him, you're probably starting him depending on your league format and the amount of teams. But I think he is a prime candidate to get into the end zone this week. I think the Panthers just have a lack of weapons, so Chuba Hubbard and McMillan are both guys that I think are must starts. I actually have an interesting dilemma in my Dynasty League. I have Travis Kelce and Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren has a sneaky tough matchup against the Broncos. Travis Kelce, I'm going to start Tyler Warren almost every week, but Travis Kelce this week I think might be a better start just because the Chiefs have a lack of weapons right now and the Broncos defense is so good in Tyler Warren's case. So I would lean Travis Kelce over Tyler Warren to finish with more fantasy points this week, which feels like a bold take, but I'm going to make that decision in my league. But other than that, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. 10-6 last week. Hopefully build and improve on that. 1-0 in locks. Let's get to 2-0 there with the Falcons. Let me know your guys' picks and predictions for week number 2, and I will see you guys very soon. Thanks so much.